happening, gang? Back live in the Secret Stash, hanging out with my man Jeremy Beck, co-founder of the Greenhouse Group, and engineer Steve keeping it live in the booth with a little classic rock riff. I mean, what more do you want for a Tuesday at 10:45, Jer?
He's always got it rocking.
Got it rocking. And thank you for, I guess, rocking with us, you might say, doing our monthly state of the local market update. You can call in for any final questions on our final wrap-up segment at 866-405-1717. I'll give that number one more time, 866-405-1717. Can ask myself or Jeremy any questions you might have about getting into or out of this market right now. Now, Jer, I think we did a good job covering the ground of berating people with as many numbers as humanly possible.
Yep.
And then doing our best to sprinkle some local consciousness on top of that. Talking about what you would contend is the number one most important buyer thing that's happened in the last month.
Yep.
And then I'm sharing what I think is the most important seller or owner thing right now, which is getting some information out there and learning that there's actually might be a really good time to throw your hat in the ring or sign in the front yard, because inventory seems to be low while rates continue to be incredibly available, and money is actually even more so than ever before. So all of that stuff, maybe, do you have any like recent stories or something you can share with me about someone who actually took advantage of that stuff?
Yeah, we talked a little bit earlier about putting a plan together, and I think that's understated in terms of what people really would want in terms of help. I had a couple come to me, and they own a home now. They want to buy another home. They need to be able to work on the other home to get a little built-in sweat equity.
Okay, hold on. Work on the home they're trying to buy?
The new home. So they're planning on buying a home that needs a little love so they can
So they were
come
part
up
of
a little
the
bit.
67% that wanted to sell then buy.
Yep.
Okay, but how did they know they needed to put work into it before they were going to buy it?
That's just their plan. He's handy. He wants to get a little sweat equity in it, right? So come up a little bit. So when I met with them, it came out that they actually didn't really want to sell the home they're in. They kind of wanted to keep it to have as an investment property, as money, because one of the things they're aware of right now is they're coming towards the end of their working career, and they want these things to be sprinkled throughout their portfolio as income generators. So we actually put a plan together where we could, instead of selling that home, sorry, Jesse, they could refinance that home and restructure the money, pull out some equity, buy their next home, and have enough money to do the repairs and the upgrades that they really want to, keeping both homes, moving them closer to their ultimate goal. It's really neat.
So they were able to pull off the refi and the purchase, and they had it with their own money. So they didn't have to get creative with some kind of fancy exotic mortgage on the way in that was going to cost them a fortune.
And they didn't have to dump their current home, which they were hoping to keep as revenue.
So they could properly ladder.
Yeah.
Now they renting out the home that they were in? Is that the game plan?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can utilize that potential rent to help them make that next move. So really cool.
That actually triggers something for me, too. So if this is story time, we'll chum up a little campfire here.
Turn the lights down.
The concept, I think, maybe of people feeling stuck, which was sort of a segment that we riffed on in the last
I think they call them segments on the radio, Jesse.
Thanks, Jer. I'm glad you're here, man.
Yeah.
Was feeling very stuck with the condo that they had as a first-time purchase, and when they got it, it was perfect for them. It was newer, had tons of space, all the amenities that a buyer would love. But then two little EHOs showed up on the scene, and they would have loved to have upgraded at that point in time, but the market decided other things for them, and they had to sort of ride out that storm. So when they finally raised their hand and they came and talked to me about it, they weren't even sure if they had enough equity at all, because they were looking at what some of the other homes in their complex had sold for. So when I went down there, I did their pinpoint price. I was encouraged by what I thought I could move the home for and how quickly I thought I could do it. He might have been, I think, a little bit on the other side of the fence, but he was cautiously optimistic, and we went for it. We actually ended up doing not only the largest sale per square foot in the complex, but in the entire zip code at that point in time. This is just 2 months back.
Nice.
And that allowed him to have enough money to not only get rid of his obligations that he had, but also a little pad for a small down payment. And now he moved his family into a detached home with enough bedrooms to accommodate the two EHOs. And I love that story.
Yeah.
Because, I think that kind of ties into this concept right now. It's just, even if I came down and met with him, and the goal was, hey, it's not quite there yet. The fact that he raised his hand and at least got to the truth puts him head and shoulders above everybody else who just seems to be kind of hanging out and waiting for something to happen to them.
It's exactly what we talked about earlier, which is the fear of the information that they don't really know. Mm-hmm. And it's easy enough. You just got to raise your hand. You just got to reach out because the information is available.
Yeah. Or a lot of times people will say, how's the market?
Mm-hmm.
And, what they're really asking is, how's their market?
Right.
And so you can grab a national headline or you can even grab a local one, like from the Union Trib or whatever, and it's painting a picture. You might be able to find yourself in that truth, but I wonder how similar or dissimilar it is to exactly what's taking place in your little 1 mile radius.
Well, my friend told me.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Or my, my brother's an agent,
mm-hmm.
From Seattle, Washington, not necessarily the same case.
Right.
So in summary, you could wrap it up by saying right now, the numbers still seem to be aggressively slanted in people wanting to buy, available money, potentially is what you said, more available liquid than ever before on some of those loosening of the purse string
yep.
guidelines. And sellers out there right now, not only do you probably have equity in your home, more so than you thought you did, but the competition is actually shrinking down a little bit. So a great opportunity to sort of feed or nourish some of those buyers out there that want to get their name on something before the end of the year.
Yeah. I would guess that we have 15 pre-approved buyers right now looking for a home that they just can't find.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So maybe plug your home buyer class again, because I think that's a really good place for folks to start.
So depending on what it is that the attendees are looking for, we have two different ones. One is for the first-time home buyer. So that's more of an educational process. You learn about what it means, what you need to do to be ready. We kind of dispel some of the myths and the fears of getting pre-approved. I think a lot of people stop before they even start, and it's a huge mistake. Time is your on your side when you're talking about getting ready to be pre-approved. So it's important to do that early. And not having to go fill out an application and someone telling you you're not ready right now. Just getting in, learning about the process, and setting that path. The second one is for those who have a home now and want to buy their next one, and determining whether or not selling is the right option for them or whether keeping that property is in the cards. And those are really interesting, larger conversations, and we have classes for both.
Yeah. I love that thought that I've heard you share before, which is a pre-approval has like a shelf life.
Mm-hmm.
Like it'll be good for 30 days or maybe 90 if you're lucky, right? Someone takes a look at your income and your assets and maybe pulls your FICO score. But a mortgage plan lasts forever. And that concept of getting, like, do you have a mortgage plan? Or do you just have a pre-approval?
Yeah.
And also, what's your plan to get out of the damn mortgage in the first place,
yep.
right? So it's not just that acquisition concept of just, flicking through these properties one by one. Sit down, come up with an overall wealth strategy of figuring out where you're starting right now, where you want to be, and what's the best course of action to get there, and then assembling the right team in place to be able to help weather through the storm. Like my buddy, SealFit buddy says, no plan survives contact with the enemy.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you don't have to have a plan in the first place. So you got to have a plan to get there.
Right.
But once bullets start whizzing, you got to make sure you got the right team around you to get through it.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's cool. So I'll maybe the other side of that coin is if you're an owner right now and you're trying to figure out where you belong or where you exist in that conversation. I'd love to invite you down to our next home seller workshop class. We've actually got it at headquarters on November 18th. So if you want to learn more about that class and how you might be able to get a slot in it, because the room's not that big. We keep it intimate on purpose. It's not a big warehouse kind of thing with, mic'd up
selling tickets and books,
speakerphones. It's meant to be intimate so people can actually get their own questions asked and answered. So again, you go down to thegreenhousegroupinc.com, learn more about getting your name on that class next. Jeremy, go ahead.
I thought you had a sign up on your website as well, Secret Stash.
And there is one on Secret Stash, too. Thank you for that. Yeah. So the secretstashradio.com. You can also do a sign up there as well. Appreciate that little plug. Thank you for hanging out, my man.
Yeah.
For another installment
Good to be here.
State of the Local Union. And look forward to seeing you next month. Appreciate you.
You bet, man.
And appreciate you guys for hanging out in the stash. Now, coming up, gang, we'll be right back with my man Jeff Morris. He's going to help answer the question, is flipping done in San Diego or not? You're not going to want to miss this. We'll be right back.